I'm Anthony Forrest, the president of Steel Cod, and I'm here with John Beresford, our VP of Sales, ready to discuss all things appliances. So, John, salespeople constantly have to deal with customers having issues with their appliances that are not necessarily the fault of the appliance. It's the fault of the user.
Mhm.
And a big one is overloading dishwashers. I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? Like you have this magical machine, and anything you put inside of it is going to come out sparkling clean and dry, no matter how much you put in or
Right.
where you put it or what that bowl is preventing something else from getting wet. Doesn't matter. Once it's in the box and you close the door, these magic elves go in
Yep.
there and clean everything and dry everything, and it's beautiful. But that's not necessarily the truth, and this is something that salespeople have to combat.
Yeah. No, 100%. And look, that type of logic, you have to understand a customer logic versus salesperson logic, right? Customer logic is they're always thinking in volume, right? And the logic makes sense when you do think in volume, but it doesn't hold up when you understand how the systems actually work once you get inside these things, because I don't think there are any elves in these machines, but I could be wrong. But a dishwasher is not built to clean more just because you put more in it. Okay. It's built to clean based off of how well water and detergent can reach all of those surfaces that you're giving it. So, the moment that you shift away to, does everything have access to, can I fit more in it and jam more inside? Well, now you're no longer improving efficiency, right? You're really in anything, you're just really reducing the system's ability to get the job done. And that's really where the disconnect here starts. And I don't think enough salespeople maybe even know enough to approach this with customers. And just, we kind of, I don't know about you, but back when I was selling, we didn't talk about overloading so much as part of that process to make sure that we had that expectation set. So, that's a part that I think is really important to talk about, because people think that they're getting more out of the machine, and what they're actually getting is less performance.
So let's before we break into before we get into why this breaks, let's really set up why customers are doing this, kind of go deeper on that, and then we'll talk about what issues it's causing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it goes back to them just thinking about pure capacity, right? They're trying to solve more for time than they are performance, right? So it's, the same old questions, right? How do I avoid running this thing again? Or how do I get everything done in one shot? Those types of things. So they load much tighter, they stack everything much closer together, and they fill every conceivable space that they can inside there. And again, to them, it feels super productive. It's like, yeah, we got everything in there, right? Because in most situations, doing more at once in their heads is more efficient. But, they have to, you have to realize these aren't storage systems, right? This is a cleaning system. And those two things, that they need different things as a result of that, right? Cleaning doesn't happen because something is inside the dishwasher. It happens because the system can actually interact with it in the right ways.
All right, so then now let's talk about what issues this is causing, and this is kind of where people might be misled in terms of kind of what's happening inside the dishwasher and why this is causing such a problem.
Yeah. So you need to understand, without understand, you have to understand mechanism, right? And without understanding the mechanism, the behaviors that they continually do end up looking harmless, right? Dishwashers don't clean by soaking everything evenly. They just don't, right? They clean through really a controlled system of water movement. Okay, so water is pushed through spray arms, and they're under very specific pressure and just hitting very specific angles, and then it drains away. Okay, so that's, in essence, that's kind of what's happening. So that means for something to get clean, it always has to be exposed to that movement, right? And I don't mean partially or occasionally, but it has to be done all the time, very consistently. And here's what changes when you overload that machine, right? Is that you start blocking out those spray paths, or you create areas where the water physically just cannot reach, right? You're reducing all of the spacing between the items that are in there, which is going to limit that circulation. And then you really start stacking things up in ways that items really start to shield one another once they're inside. So, you know, And look, this is where people are going to push back. I can already feel it, right? And they're going to say, "Well, I overload mine all the time and it still works." Okay. Like, I guess sometimes theoretically, I guess it does. But it doesn't mean that it's working correctly. Okay. It means that it's working more selectively than anything else, right? Which means that some items are going to get full exposure and they're going to come out super clean. Some are going to get partial exposure. Some are barely going to get touched at all, right? So, what you're getting in those moments isn't full performance of the machine. You're getting uneven performance at best. And, the mistake people make is judging the cycle based off of the best result in the load, right? It most of it's clean, so it worked, right? But that's not the standard that the systems are built for, right? The system is really built for full access across the entire load. So yes, you can overload a machine today and get relatively acceptable results sometimes. But every time you do, you're lowering that probability that everything gets cleaned properly. So the difference isn't really, does it work or not? It's, is it working consistently the way that it was designed to? And overloading a machine breaks that consistency.
So, an overloading machine, it brings up certain problems that will be obvious
Mhm.
to the customer, but there's some other problems that might be happening that aren't quite as obvious that could be causing longer term damage to their their plates and their glasses and that stuff. So what exactly are all the problems that could turn up by overloading the machine?
Oof. Good question. So there are a ton, right? And, this is really where we get into expectations and results, really where they stop matching up, because from the user perspective, everything's always going to look right to them, right? Because the dishwasher ran, the cycle finished, and the time passed and all of that kind of stuff. So the assumption at the end of it is it should be clean. And when it's not, they don't go back and question how it was loaded, right? They question the machine. But the types of things that you're going to see is residue that's left on the dishes. That's the easy one, right? Clouding on glassware is pretty significant. Food that's literally redeposited in other areas of the machine or on other plates. And, the key issue is it's inconsistent. So, some items are going to be clean and some aren't. And the inconsistency there feels like a product problem. But I can tell you in almost every situation, it's not, right? It's a system, really access problem more so than anything else.
So what's interesting is like if you consistently overload the dishwasher, you're going to consistently have the same issues. And then you just
Yeah.
start to accept that, well, this is just the way it is. And I'm going to need to wipe off
Yeah.
dishes. I'm going to need to
Right.
wash things after they come out periodically, but that's just the way it is. But like, what are the other reasons people just keep doing this?
Yeah, and you're right. It's because all the failure that's happening in that moment, it's failing in a way that doesn't clearly point back to the behavior, right? Theirs. So if every overloaded cycle failed like completely, people would stop doing what they're doing immediately. The problem is that they don't, right? So it partially fails, right? And partial failure is really easy to misinterpret at that point because you assume that the machine, and probably rightfully so, you assume the machine is being inconsistent. You don't assume that your loading is inconsistent, right? You're never going to call your own habits into question on that. And then on top of that, nobody really explains how these systems work in the moment. I was talking about that earlier with you. We never really brought this up probably as much as we had to ensure that we were setting the right expectations. So people fall back on what they feel, their own determinations of what they feel is efficient, right? If you shove more in and you fit more in, it's going to run less. So we can just kind of move on. And unless somebody connects those dots, from the behavior that you're using to the outcome, well, then the pattern is really easy to just repeat itself.
So let's talk about that kind of the moment of explanation for the consumer to let them know, how we can help the salesperson better explain to the customer, you know, you're going to get this new dishwasher home. Don't screw this up. And
Yeah.
how do you kind of pepper that into the conversation? Is it a part of the pitch throughout the selling experience? Like how can the customer kind of set the customer up for success and not a callback saying this dishwasher doesn't work?
Yeah, I think the important part is you have to realize, this is expectation setting, okay? This isn't a correction. You're not telling somebody how they have to do dishes or anything like that, but it is important to set the expectation right. And if you don't address it up front, then you're setting the product to be misjudged later. Like we just illustrated, it's really easy to do, right? We probably do it in our own lives with things that we're not talking about today. So, look, you're not looking to really teach anything here. What I would argue and what I think would be successful for most salespeople out there is just look to catch a cue, right? There's always cues when you talk to a customer long enough, right? And they're pretty easy to hear when it comes to dishwashers, right? I mean, you hear the customers all this that I like to try to get everything in one load. So what cycle do you suggest? Those types of things, right? I don't like running it more than once in a day. That becomes, too redundant or repetitive, or I don't like hearing it. You hear all this kind of stuff. When you hear those things, that's your opening. And, the mistake most salespeople make in that point is they either ignore it because they don't want to kind of butt in, or they tend to over explain it. And my plea to all of you is don't do either of those things. You just want to reset the expectation. Something very simple. Just say, you know, these clean really well, but they need space to do it. So if it is packed a little bit too tight, you are going to notice that your performance is going to drop. So it's a really easy fix when that happens. That's enough. Now they understand the trade-off. You did your job, right? Because if you don't say something like that and they do overload it at home and it doesn't clean properly, well, they're not going to rethink how they loaded it. They're going to rethink the recommendation that you made for them, right? In terms of the right dishwasher for them. So I think it's really important to set that expectation, but I think that you do it really balanced and keep it light. That sentence right there, nobody's going to take offense to it, even if they don't believe you. Nobody's going to sit there and get their back up and push back on you and say, how dare you tell me how to do my dishes? It's not going to happen. It's a real simple way to kind of get that point across.
We drop a new episode every day of the week, including weekends. Don't forget to rate and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.